Hey guys, so this is my first pro wrestling related vlog that will be posted to both Facebook and YouTube. First, it will be posted to Facebook, and then 24 hours later, it will be up on YouTube. This way, I'm hitting all my distribution options, and Facebook video and YouTube video are two of the best. So, as long as you guys share and like and comment to my videos, then more people will see it and I can post more videos. I apologize for my voice right now. I actually got diagnosed on Saturday with pneumonia. So I just want to say if my voice is off, which is it's like I already have a nasally voice, but the hoarseness is kind of adding to it. So I apologize for the voice, but I think we'll make it through. So tonight's topic, pro wrestling topic, is going to be about WCW Thunder from April 26, 2000. Now, in today's day and age, April of the, you know, April is always a month that everybody is waiting for because the best things are going to happen. It's kind of like Sweeps Week or Sweeps Month because you got WrestleMania and you got the big events surrounding WrestleMania. So nowadays you wait for April because late March until early May things are gonna be hot, and at the end of WrestleMania you get the after Mania Raw, which will bring in new storylines, new wrestlers, new this, new that. Unfortunately, this is not the case. This is WCW April 26, 2000. I'm just going to go over some of the good and the bad because I'm going to tell you, watching it, I did not mind most of what I saw. I saw a lot of storyline potential, a lot of characters that I was like, why didn't they make it? And as a wrestling fan, who back then, I'm going to be honest, I didn't know the ins and outs of professional wrestling until I would say about 2002, 2003, where I started to really read the books by wrestlers and I started to kind of understand the kayfabe and how all like the shoots and everything. I started to understand it as much as a fan can understand it because I'm not one of those people who, oh, that guy's a mark. Oh, did you see that? That was a shoot. Oh man, that was a work. Like, no, I don't pretend to know everything. I don't pretend to know anything that the guys that are in the business know. I know as much as a passionate wrestling fan can know based on the knowledge I have been given through websites and books. And do I know everything? No. But being a wrestling fan for going on 29 years, as well as being a creative writer, where I've written a novel, haven't gotten it published yet, but I've written a novel, I have a creative mind, and like I said, being a wrestling fan, I kind of bring the two together. So watching this episode of WCW Thunder, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, this could happen with this guy. This could happen with this guy. This could be something. The whole New Blood versus Millionaires Club. My issue with that was the Millionaires Club had like two, three guys. New Blood had an army. If they were going to do Millionaires Club, they needed more guys that would be there on a week to week basis, not guys that would be there whenever. And I believe that one of the problems back then was you didn't have guys who were prominent figures in the 90s, in the late 80s, that were still looking to be in the ring on a week to week basis or being on TV on a week to week basis. So you had Ric Flair in the ring, you had Lex Luger in the ring, so they were part of it. They were like a prominent part of the storyline that night, where Vince Russo and the New Blood. Not New Blood. Is that New Blood? Yeah, I think it was. I'm sorry. Vince Russo and the New Blood kidnapped Miss Elizabeth. Now that was all going on. That was a whole. Then they had this whole storyline where Vince Russo and the New Blood kept attacking. Get ready for this. They kept attacking David Arquette. David Arquette, for those of you that don't know, which have you been living under a rock? I mean, come on. David Arquette is a Hollywood actor. He's been in hits like Scream, which for me, that's one of my biggest things I've seen him in is Scream and Ready to Rumble, which if you're a wrestling fan and you haven't seen Ready to Rumble, go get it right now. I'm telling you, really good movie. Funny, really funny, and it's a really good wrestling movie, and just check it out. But they had David Arquette wrestling this night. So it was going to be him and Diamond Dallas Page versus Eric Bischoff and Jeff Jarrett. Winner got the WCW World title. That's right, Vince Russo booking apparently, I'm not really sure. But they had a world title on the line in a tag team match. Really? Okay. Now, if you look at it from the outside, like I looked at it and I'm like, okay. You got David Arquette, who will sit on the sidelines. Eric Bischoff will sit on the sidelines. They'll both do little things, but nothing will really happen. So really, it was Jeff Jarrett versus DDP. That's logical way of thinking. I was like, okay, this could work. This could be something. Instead, it was not what I expected. It was a clusterfuck. Excuse my language, but it was not. It was a mess, and it ended with both Jeff Jarrett pinning Diamond Dallas Page at the same time that David Arquette pinned Eric Bischoff. What happened? The referee ran in, went over to David Arquette. 1, 2, 3. Paid no mind to the other guy being pinned. David Arquette, an actor, won the World Heavyweight title. This, for wrestling fans at the time, was like, are you kidding me? Like, it was as if, like I said, this is not how I feel now, but back then, this is how all wrestling fans felt, or at least the majority. It was like you took a gun, put it in the mouth of WCW, and pulled the trigger. This was the death nail in the coffin creatively for WCW. This was bad. And it wasn't the time to do it. It was not the mid-90s when you had Jay Leno, Dennis Rodman, doing stuff. This is 2001, and money wasn't exactly where it was supposed to be because Ted Turner was having issues keeping control of his own company, and the guys that worked under Ted Turner weren't into the wrestling business. So when you have something like this happens creatively, and they see this, they're not really thinking, oh, that's great. We got a Hollywood actor being our world champion. This is going to be great. They see ratings. Is that how it actually happened? I don't know. But in my opinion, that's how it happened. Again, everything you read, everything you hear from me is me unfiltered, my point of view based off of my opinion. Like, this is how I feel things have, this is how it went. Alright, so I went over David Arquette winning the title, and that was just bad. Now, I will say one thing, though, and something I really, truly respect. With all the money he had from his time in WCW, David Arquette donated it all to charity. That is something I really commend him for, and I'm not gonna lie, like watching back just a minute ago at him winning the world title, there was a little less nausea knowing what he did with the money. But it was one of those moments where it was just like, no, just no, nope, can't accept this. This is not happening. Especially because it wasn't a little upstart company looking for publicity. This was the World Championship Wrestling. This was the World Heavyweight title, won by guys like Ric Flair, Sting, Dusty Rhodes, Harley Race. This was a title with lineage, with so much history tied to it. And you just gave it to an actor who wrestled twice. Do you get the aggravation? Now, aggravation aside, I do want to kind of point out a few things. There were a few bits of and pieces of this episode of WCW Thunder that I really want to mention. First of all, I looked at guys like The Wall, and back then I was like, oh, I love this guy. I loved the guys who were tall, like the big guys, but weren't like bulky. Like I wasn't like Vince McMahon, who, in my opinion, Vince always had a big man fetish. He loved the Hulk Hogan's, the ripped guys, and who were like 10 feet tall. No, I like the guys that were about 10 feet tall, moderate build, but they could do things that most other guys couldn't. And this guy, The Wall, being able to choke slam someone through a table, that for me, I was like, okay, I like that. That's a shtick. I could go with that. And he was just someone I got into. And unfortunately, he did not meet a good demise. He passed away years later, and it's really unfortunate because like I said, I saw a lot of potential. Now, again, I wasn't a fan like I am now, where I can see like, oh, that was a mistake. Oh, that was a mistake. Oh, that was a mistake. And honestly, when I go back and watch these shows from back in the day, I still can't watch that. I watch it like I did back then, like, oh, I like this. Oh, I like that. Why would they do that? Oh my God. I watch it like a fan. I can't watch back and be like, ooh, that was bad. Ooh, because I don't see most of it. If I do, I mention it. But in this case, I really thought he had some potential, and I don't know if it was backstage issues or mental health issues or any type of combination. But I was very, very, very sad to see him not get the rightful push that I thought he could have had. And it bummed me out years later when I found out he passed away. Because I always thought, whenever a wrestler that's not very old stops wrestling or is released, I think they can come back. They can come back and earn respect. They can come back and show those idiots that fired them what they can do. I mean, I'll give you an example. Marty Jannetty, tag team partner of Shawn Michaels in the Rockers in the 80s to 90s. Marty Jannetty was fired by the WWE 4 or 5 times, and they brought him back. They brought him back in the early 2000s. He did such an amazing job, they hired him full time. It didn't last long because, well, for Marty's reasons, but they brought him back, and even then, in the early 2000s, this guy was wrestling since the early 80s, and he still put on a wrestling clinic with Kurt Angle, and they brought him back. So clearly, guys can come back from anything if they want to, and if they're given the opportunity. And unfortunately, that's not the only person on the list that I saw and I was like, oh, I like this. He could be something. Another one is Horace Hogan, which now, honestly, like, he's one I always think, like, whatever happened to him? Where I would love to just have a conversation with him to hear about his life, hear about his wrestling background, hear what happened with his wrestling career, because I'm genuinely curious. I'm genuinely interested. And if he ever wanted to talk, whether it be on camera or just me and him over Facebook or something, having a chat, I would love that because he's someone who I am very fascinated by. And I really like watching him in this episode of Thunder. I enjoyed it. I watched him come out. He fought one of my favorite wrestlers at the time, Billy Kidman. And honestly, it wasn't horrible. I he basically was there to get his butt kicked by Billy Kidman, which I love Billy Kidman. I'll go into that in a minute. But it bummed me out because I was like, okay, here is Horace Hogan, who is literally built like a Mack truck. And he's getting beat by Billy Kidman, who looks like a teenage skater boy. Yeah, he had Billy Kidman had Tori Wilson by his side to kind of cheat when needed, but it still just felt wrong to me. But needless to say, it was an interesting match, and it showed what Billy Kidman could do. And at this time, Billy Kidman, who started out, from what I remember, he started out being a member of Raven's Flock in 1997 and 1996. And here we are in the early 2000s, and he was wrestling guys like Hulk Hogan. And I'm sure in Vince Russo's mind, he was grasping at straws. But I don't get why Billy Kidman didn't do better when WWE bought out WCW. I don't get why he did not get as much attention because watching him in WCW from his Flock days in 97, 96, 95 to the end of WCW, I was always a fan. I loved what he could do in the ring. I loved his look. I just never understood what happened. He's another one, if I ever given him the opportunity, I would love to talk to. Because I would love to just talk to him and find out, you know, was it just he lost the love for it? Was there backstage reasons? Was there any reason why he wasn't given a better shot? And I know now he works with, I believe, or he did work for WWE. I don't know if he still does, but like I said, I would just love to hear, his story because I'm fascinated. Like I said, the same thing about Horace Hogan. I'm fascinated. Then on top of that, you had the rebirth or the birth, I think, the birth of the Misfits in Action start here, where you had Booker T get saved by guys like Lash LaRue, Van Hammer, and Bill DeMott, back then known as Hugh Morris. And it was the start of the birth of the Misfits in Action, MIA. And what this was a playoff of Booker T's very first gimmick in wrestling, G.I. Bro. And it was good comedy when it happened during this time, but that's all I'm going to say is, eh. I will say Booker T was one of the best things about it. Well, him and Major Guns, who was a valet, who was well named because she had Major Guns. Major Gun. Did you catch my drift? But that was that Nitro, and it pretty much everything kind of just. It was kind of like one of those nights where they threw spaghetti at the wall and waited to see what stuck. I saw a lot of stuff I liked, a couple things I didn't like. There was that big thing with Bret Hart where is his time up with WCW? Is he coming back? Now, knowing what I know now about his career-ending injury, I now know the answer to that. But watching this and thinking about it back then, I was always like, okay, what's going on here? He's been on and off since he got to WCW. What is going on? Is he coming back? If he's not coming back, tell us. Like, it drove me crazy. But like I said, this was, in my opinion, one of the first icebergs to hit WCW. Correct that. It was the first iceberg to hit WCW Titanic because it was just one thing that kind of put a chip in it. And then you add on the fact that Ted Turner was losing the rights to his own company. That was another issue, another crack in the ship. And then you add the fact that a lot of the guys were just not happy with the creative direction. Especially when you have things that, and this wasn't in this episode, but when you have things like Viagra on a pole matches, fans and wrestlers start to lose a lot of hope. So add that to it. And it got to a point where all you could do was hope that things would get better. All you could do was say, there's still a lot of good stuff here. They can fix the bad. Let's emphasize the good. Did that happen? I'm afraid not. But it was nice to see some guys go to WWE. Guys like Booker T, who they were making a comedy skit in WCW, get world title reigns, one after the other, in WWE, including being the last WCW world champion at the end of WCW Monday Nitro. At the very last Monday Nitro, Booker T left with the world title. A guy who just, on this episode of Thunder, a mere 6 months, I believe, or less, or more, from being, he was a laughingstock, to being a world champion. And finally, with WWE, he got a lot of that credibility back. Ric Flair eventually came onto the scene. Goldberg eventually came onto the scene. And no, fans never got the invasion that we wanted. But all we can do now is look back, say what if, and enjoy the stuff we did get. Because even now, watching this old episode of Thunder, I watched it and entertained. Even the moment when I was like, oh God, oh, I can't believe they did this. I just can't believe they did this. I was still thinking to myself, this is entertaining. This is good. I'm enjoying this. Oh, why they have to do that? Okay, that one was pretty good. Like, there was more good moments than bad. And as a wrestling fan, that's all you can look for. You can't go in looking, okay, this was bad. This was bad. And that's okay. You don't need that. This was bad. This was okay. I guess I could put that in. No, you got to go in, look at the good and the bad, and say, okay, positives, negatives, and emphasize on the positives. Because really, if we look back in any history, if we look back at our past and we only emphasize the negative, what kind of life is that? So looking back at WCW's later days, I look at it as there's a lot of bad. Oh, a lot of it was a shit show, but there was a lot of good that was coming from it. A lot of the guys in the new blood or the natural born thrillers that came a little later or earlier, I don't really remember. You had guys like Sean O'Hara, Chuck Palumbo, Mark Jindrak, guys who ended up all going to WCW, or I'm sorry, going to WWF, and all had so much potential in my mind. And again, I have to ask, why did they not get a proper shake? My opinion, because they were WCW guys. WWE guys weren't really happy with that, in my opinion. From a wrestling fan standpoint, I can see why the WWE guys were thinking, who are these guys coming in and taking our spots? So if, say, WWE guy has a match with a WCW guy, I can see why it wouldn't go well. But I went way beyond this one episode of WCW Thunder, but I just felt like it was a good topic to kind of go on and kind of give you guys my format where I will talk about an event, like I just talked about WCW Thunder, and talk about bits and pieces of it, go on my tangent where I kind of go off track, but at the same time, I show you that I'm not looking for the negatives, like a lot of people who post videos like this. Oh, WCW was horrible, but I can see where the issues were starting to become too great. I can see where there were problems, but I can also see a lot of greatness that was still there right up until the very end. And that's my motto is don't ignore the negative, but do your best to over get like honestly get over the negative, focus on the positive. That is my motto. Get over the negative, focus on the positive in life and stuff you enjoy. And for me, that's watching wrestling. Just enjoy. And watching this, yes, I cringed at the end seeing David Arquette win the world title. But in the end, I did enjoy the show, and even watching him win it, I couldn't help but laugh. So in my own way, I enjoyed it. So that's it for today. Wow, this is a almost a half-hour long video. So I apologize for the length. If you're a wrestling fan, I hope you appreciate it. If you're not a wrestling fan, why are you watching this? Have a great night, everybody. And I hope my pneumonia voice isn't making it so you can't hear anything I say or understand anything I say, or because that can be bad. All right. Love you all. You know the drill. Like, share, comment. Talk to you later.